Today I'm going to talk about cheap tattoo machines. I'm going to give you some reasons for buying them and also some reasons that you should not buy them. Stick around after the video and have a little chat with me next to the fire. Nick Durant here with Tattoo University, and today I'm going to tell you one good reason why you should buy cheap tattoo machines, and then I'm going to tell you some good reasons why you should not buy them. There's two schools of thought that I've heard from people, and one is that if you are a tattoo artist, you do not need to know how to fix or tune tattoo machines. That you should just focus on your artwork and being a tattoo artist. Now, my thoughts are that if you are a tattoo artist, you should know about your tattoo machines. You should know everything about them and how to fix them, because that will help you know what tattoo machine is going to do the best job and what tattoo machine is going to work the best for you. Some artists will just try out a couple of tattoo machines until they find the one that works for them, and they will just use that one machine not knowing why it works for them, and then once it breaks they don't know what to do. They just go searching around for another tattoo machine that'll work, and they just kind of fumble into it. Now, learning to tattoo is a skill. Learning to fix tattoo machines is another skill that requires a lot of practice. Now, what I tell people is you should buy a cheap tattoo machine if you want to learn how to fix tattoo machines, because cheap tattoo machines are never tuned correctly. They never have the right parts. Most of the time, I'm going to say 99% of the time, I have found one or two that I got that actually worked pretty decently. A lot of you guys with these cheap machines can do lines with them because it's very easy to set up a liner compared to a color packer. So the requirements for lining on a tattoo machine are a lot easier than the requirements for packing color or being a shader. When you're lining, you don't need as much of a gap. So if you have cheap coils, that's okay because you don't have a big gap. If you want to learn how to tune a tattoo machine, then you want to practice on a cheap machine. There's no sense in buying an expensive tattoo machine that is put together by a professional, tuned by a professional. There's no sense in getting a machine like this and taking it apart and redoing it. This is already tuned, this is already set up. A professional has made this to do a specific job. These machines were just slapped together by somebody who doesn't know what they're doing. those of you who are trying to get into tattooing and you just buy a cheap kit and you start tattooing are going to have a very difficult time, because these machines are not set up correctly when you first buy them. What you have to do is pretty much disassemble everything and redo it and tune it. This is my kit full of parts from cheap tattoo machines. You can see that I've pulled off all the armature bars because they're not good. I've pulled off all of the contact screws because they're cheap. I've taken apart the vices because the vices are junk. Whenever you get a cheap machine, you have to go through and replace all of the cheap parts that are on it. Here's a vise that I would replace because it's made out of plastic. A cheap plastic will break, especially when you're putting some torque on it, you're pulling on it, it's also always got some pressure on it. It's going to break if it's plastic. And see, I've pulled off all the capacitors because they're the incorrect capacitors. Usually they come with the wrong springs on them, springs that don't work correctly, they're the wrong size, the wrong shape. It's just wrong. Those are all parts that I pulled off of cheap tattoo machines that didn't belong on there. But why would you buy a Bentley if you were trying to learn how to work on cars? If you really want to do your kid a favor when they're at the age to drive, buy them a piece of crap car that will fall apart all the time, something beat up with 4 wheels and an engine, and let them learn how to fix it. Don't buy them a brand new car that they're going to destroy anyways, and they'll never learn how to work on a vehicle, and they'll get stranded. I've known full-grown men who can't even change a tire in a car. You want to teach your kids some survival skills, get them a Pinto or a cheap vehicle that will break on them, just like these cheap tattoo machines. And they will learn how to fix a vehicle. So if you get these cheap tattoo machines, you need to know how to fix tattoo machines, or else they're not going to work for you. You can see on this tattoo machine, the vise was broken. I had to replace the vise on this with a metal vise that I made because it was cheap. So these things typically work for a short period of time, and they'll even work pretty decently. These machines were cheap machines, and I used them to pack color. In fact, these things packed color really good. But the problem is they come with these plastic vices that break. So the first thing I had to do was replace that one day I went to tattoo somebody and my tube wouldn't tighten up, just wouldn't get tight, and I realized the vise was broke. So I had to take a metal vise that I scrapped from another machine, and I had to replace the vise, which worked for a while. And then I was tattooing on somebody and I started getting this rattle noise, and the machine, the motor, was actually moving back and forth. So then I had to fix that, and then this finally broke. The cam wheel just broke off of here. This would hold this, and it just moved around because it wasn't running smoothly. Probably at a little bit of an angle, it broke. Now, whenever something breaks on you, it's not going to break when you're not using it. It's going to break during the middle of a tattoo. And what that's going to do is it's going to make people lose confidence in you. And the last thing you want is a client that does not believe that you can do your job. And what will happen is it will take you twice as long to finish a tattoo because you're going to have to stop and fix your equipment. One of the things I would do if you do have cheap equipment is have a set of everything, a double. Keep another one around so that instead of messing with this one when it breaks, you can just switch it out. Or even better, try to get a good tattoo machine that will not break on you. But while you are doing practice skins, while you are learning, while you are trying to figure out how to fix and tune tattoo machines, go ahead and get the cheap ones. Spend $10 and buy a cheap tattoo machine because you're going to take it apart. And most likely it's going to break. First thing that's going to break is the wire from your coils, because cheap tattoo machines have cheap wire, really thin wire that breaks. That's the major problem with a lot of cheap equipment, is they use cheap thin wire. They use it on the foot pedals, they use it on the coils, they use it on your clip cords. So I've been asked several times, do cheap machines work? And the answer is yes, they work. They will tattoo. You can tattoo somebody with a stick. You can tattoo somebody with a cheap tattoo machine. So the issue isn't do they work, but the issue is how long do they work before they break, compared to how long a good tattoo machine will work before it breaks. So I also get asked all the time, what should I do if I don't have a ton of money for a good tattoo machine? Well, you can get good tattoo machines like this one, or this one here, for the fraction of the cost of some of the tattoo machines that are out there. So when you first start tattooing, you don't make money right away. In fact, you're going to sink a lot of money into learning how to tattoo and into getting equipment. So you might be tempted to go with some cheaper equipment, but in the long run, it'll actually cost you more money. For example, this is the 4th power supply that I've bought, because all of the power supplies before this one broke. And instead of buying 4 power supplies that were cheap, I could have bought one good power supply that would have lasted me as long as those did. So what's the alternative to buying cheap machines and still not spending a lot of money? And that is to find somebody who makes tattoo machines, quality tattoo machines, and they don't cost a lot of money. You can do this. Everything on this tattoo machine was made from scratch by the same tattoo artist, except for the armature bar on this because I switched it out. This machine was made by tattoo artists, and it was assembled by a tattoo artist with over 20 years experience in tattooing. So they knew what they're doing. So if you find someone who builds tattoo machines or assembles tattoo machines, and they use good materials and they have a good reputation, you can go through them and get a machine that you can run in a shop all day, every day for years. These machines will not do that. These machines, as soon as you get into a shop, will break. As soon as you start putting these lasted a while when I wasn't tattooing in a shop, because I wasn't tattooing that much. As soon as I started tattooing a high number of clients and the frequency of use went up, all of a sudden they just broke. These broke within like the first week I was working in a tattoo shop, because they're not built to last. These machines are built to last because these were made from good materials and they're assembled by somebody who knows what they're doing. These are not made from good materials. Plastic is never good on a tattoo machine. Brittle plastic, this is the cheap stuff. So I've already given you an earful of, all of the bad things about these cheap tattoo machines, but here's the bottom line. If you know how to work on tattoo machines, you can fix a cheap machine. You can replace the parts, you can keep it running, but it will break, and it will not be the quality of one of these machines. It will not last as long. So if you're going to learn how to fix tattoo machines, buy some cheap ones. If you're going to just tattoo on people, buy some better machines from somebody who knows what they're doing. Now, when you are learning how to tune tattoo machines, my suggestion is that you take the entire machine apart and put it back together again. And do that at least 100 times and see if it works. I have taken this machine apart at least 100 times, maybe even more. I took it apart so much that this front coil came loose from the core. I had to super glue it back together. It still runs. This machine still works, which is amazing because usually you take it apart and they break like this one did. I put a lot of videos out there on how to tune these machines. So if you're into fixing machines, try to watch those. You're not going to pick it up the first time. These cheap machines, like I said, I tuned this at least 100 times because every time I put it together, something else was wrong, until I finally figured out how to tune a machine, and it worked the way I wanted to. And now, not only can I tune a machine, but I can also adjust it to do what I want. You know, the reason why I have cheap equipment is because I didn't start off doing this with any money. So it's okay if you start off with cheap equipment, but you always should be improving. Once you start making money on tattoos, you need to put a portion of that into your equipment. Now, another reason why you might want to start off with a cheaper machine is if you are using rotary machines and you want to know how a specific machine is going to work before you use it, because I've tried some rotary machines that I didn't like and I couldn't get used to them. So why would I buy a really expensive rotary machine without testing it out first? Or the other option is, if you know somebody who has one, test it out, see if they'll let you use it, and that way you can learn whether or not you like that particular rotary machine. This Swatch Drive whip is a cheap knockoff, but I like the way this works. This is a really nice machine. It works really good for me. So the next step is to go out and get the name brand version of this. We're going to have a little session here called No Bullshit with your Uncle Nick. Okay, so tattoo artists like to exclude people. They like to exclude other tattoo artists and feel like they are better than everybody else sometimes. And that's not what this channel is about. This channel is for every tattoo artist under the sun. For beginning tattoo artists, for tattoo artists out of their houses, tattoo artists in shops, all encompassing channel for everyone. Nobody is excluded. And some people might say you shouldn't be teaching people who are working in their house, which is asinine, because those are the people you want to teach so that they will get out of their houses and into a tattoo shop. You know that there are those people who use cheap tattoo machines and they prefer that. You know, I'm not going to pay $600 for a tattoo machine unless it is a really expensive rotary or a Safiri machine. Would I love to have one of those? Yes, I would. Those are machines that are quality machines, top quality machines, and worth them. So you don't want to spend that much money on a tattoo machine. There are people out there who sell quality machines at a lower cost. So you want quality, you're not going to get it with a cheap machine. If you want to use cheap machines, go for it. The bottom line is, do what works for you. If it works for you, then who cares what anybody else thinks? Really, I mean, why would I care what you want to use? But in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, is that if you get cheap machines, you need to know how to fix them. If you don't know how to tune machines and you buy cheap machines, you won't be able to tattoo with those. These questions that I'm getting about why is my tattoo machine heating up, because it's a cheap machine and it's not tuned correctly. You can run a machine all day long without it heating up if it's tuned correctly. So you either have to learn how to work on machines, or you have to buy machines that are built by someone who knows what they're doing. You can't learn tattooing and go out and buy cheap machines. And unless you decide that you want to learn how to fix machines. So if you're learning how to fix machines, buy a cheap one and fix it up. Or buy all good parts and put the parts together. If you don't want to learn that, if you're one of those tattoo artists who feels like you don't need to know how to tune a machine, then you need to buy good equipment. Now, not all good equipment is super expensive. There's middle of the road equipment that will last you for years and is a fraction of the cost. You just have to find someone that either makes machines or a company that knows what they're doing and puts the time into making machines and tuning them correctly before they sell it. Here's proof that I'm not going to lie to you. Yes, I sound like Brian Posen and look like him. He's a comedian. Right now he's on Big Bang Theory if you want to look him up. I hear that a lot from people. No, I have never done commentary on any videos besides the YouTube videos I do. But here's how this channel works, and here's the idea behind this channel. I put out videos, and you guys pay nothing. One of the issues that I ran into when I was learning how to tattoo was that I was being ripped off by other tattoo artists. I feel like the worst thing is when one tattoo artist will rip off another tattoo artist who knows what they're going through and the struggle they have to go through to learn. So everything I'm doing is free. And the way things are paid for is that you guys support the channel by watching the channel. I get paid by putting advertisements so that no money comes out of your pockets. Those advertisements go towards making more tattoo videos. So the more you watch and the more you support the channel, the more videos I'm able to do, the more research I'm able to do, and it's free to you guys. Actually, right now I've spent more money making videos than I've made, but the goal is to have free information for you guys across the board. At no cost to you guys, so you can learn, and then you can take that money that you're saving and put it towards better equipment. You can take that money and get yourself started, support yourself so that you can learn and then you can teach other people. Right now there's a lot of artists out there, and there's a big problem where nobody's helping the other artists learn. There's no support for people who want to get into the industry. Get yourself started, get yourself into a shop, help somebody else out. If I can help you get that started, then I have achieved my goal. I have actually helped several people get into shops already. I got myself into a shop. This information, even if you don't like me, even if you don't like this channel and you watch, you will learn something. That's the beauty of it. It's that great. It's set up so that you can learn even if you're not trying. So all you guys have to do is support the channel by watching and then getting other people to subscribe. Go to my website, go to Facebook, check out Tattoo Buddha on Instagram and support that. The more you guys support, the more I can do, and it's all free to you guys. So there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to do that.